Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm just getting organized here because we've got a lot of material to cover today. I've been researching like a madwoman, as I've been saying, and I thought I would just dive in because it's so massive, the amount of information, that there's sort of no place to start but where we can. And I think I'm just going to keep diving in, and instead of trying to arrange this perfectly, I'm just going to start tossing out the information and letting you be the judge. In any case, hi there, Lillian, Kelly, nice to see you. I hope you're having a good Friday. I know I am. I got outside for a while today in the sunshine. I am a sun lover, and these winters are just too long for me. I usually get away, but of course this year it wasn't on the table, and so nice to lay out there, get some color back in this white skin of mine. I usually don't allow it to get so white. In any case, yesterday I was taking you guys all through, well, Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 and sort of giving you a toe dipper into what's going on. And the thing is, hi Amber, the thing is, Bill Gates is getting all the glory and all of the kudos for what's going on right now. But the funny thing is, well, as I'm finding, he's not, well, he's part of it for sure, but he's not the big kahuna. But I think I have found the big kahuna. This has been a lot of research over the years, guys. In the truth community, of course, you know, it's the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, Gates, and there's this common narrative, and yes, they're all contributors for sure. But again, not the big kahuna. I think I've identified where the direction for UN Agenda 2030 is truly emanating from. And as far as I'm seeing, it's Saudi Arabia. We're under measures that have never been typical to our society. And it is to the goals. It's the great reset to the goals of UN Agenda 2030. This is the legitimacy of it all. But I think a lot of us have this assumption that this is a Western plan, and it's not. This is coming from totalitarianville on the other side of the world. And it's a global system that traverses borders, or it is right now through the WHO, of course, you know who. They're the ones holding the world hostage under these public health emergencies. In any case, yesterday we talked about NEOM, and that is Saudi Arabia, and of course Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince, who is the de facto leader of Saudi Arabia right now. And this is his vision. And he's a very young prince for Saudi Arabia. They normally don't come into power till much later. But this is a turn for them. And what has happened over the last few years, and I'm no economist, but through my research, I've certainly seen that, well, they started to take bigger risks. One of the first risks they took was Uber. It was. And they put in $3.5 billion. And interestingly enough, they increased that to $4.4 billion just recently. And that's funny because the pandemic numbers on their company saw a devaluation. So it wasn't the best move. And this is where I was speaking on Facebook today to my experiences with what I call the ground forces. Uber And that has had Saudi investment from the start, I believe. I'm not buying all of these cutesy little stories of 2008 and 2009 of these mega entrepreneurs, like, of course, the headmaster of this platform, Mark Zuckerberg. Again, Airbnb, the stories, they all popped up around the same time. And again, risky. They were. But the interesting thing about a lot of those, Uber and Airbnb is that, well, you didn't have to own property. Like, you could use your car, you could use your house. So it was a whole new way of doing things. And again, I did it. So I was totally into it. And the opportunity. But what I did see over with Airbnb was the twisting of the screws on that social credit program that I didn't realize I was part of until much later. It was watching how the nature of the business absolutely changed from what it started with was come to Martine's house and enjoy your stay with somebody local, and she'll give you the lowdown on the neighborhood and help you out. And that changed to pretty much the demand of a hotel or a cheap hotel with locking doors and keypads to get in. And again, I watched Airbnb actually twist the screws to change the nature of the business to the fact that, well, my guests didn't really even want to get to know me anymore. And that was kind of weird because, again, that's not where it all started. Now, again, we have been, I wouldn't say indoctrinated, but in some ways we have to this, again, this small vision of Agenda 2030 and, of course, the elite of the world. But we've been missing the other sides of the world, like China. We don't tend to pay as much attention here in Canada, and that's probably mostly due down to language. United States too. We have this view about the West, but there's a whole lot going on over on the other side of the world, and I'm going to take you through that today. I came across, well, I had a new friend. She reached out and she said, I know you're not taking friend requests anymore, but here's a really great article. And oh my God, did she nail it at the very perfect time. So of course I accepted her friend request. In any case, in 2018, there was a journalist in Saudi, Jamil Khashoggi, and I talked about him briefly yesterday. Now, he was part of the elite in Saudi Arabia. He was. And around 2017, just before the Trump election, and him consequently winning the presidency, he had his tweeting privileges in the kingdom removed. And it's because he was being critical to the then president-elect Trump. He was critical of Mohammed bin Salman. And in the kingdom, well, you don't really do that. He was actually he was supportive of Vision 2030. He was. But he was also critical about, the massive money raising and this whole new direction for the kingdom. I came across this, well, this woman sent this to me today, and again, perfect timing, because it actually details some of the things we're missing. So we're going to start here. I'm going to flip you over to see my screen so you can follow along. Okay, so this is a blueprint for the 22nd century. Now, this is all about, it calls Futures Investment Initiative. And that's actually right here. Okay, so we're going to come back to that. Now, he was talking that it looked like the website had been hacked back in 2018. But here we'll start here. Against the backdrop of a dismembered journalist, in addition to atrocities and war crimes in Yemen, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, so that's how we'll refer to him from now on, had planned to welcome visionary and influential leaders in the business, government, and civil society to Riyadh this week for his second Future Investment Initiative, a 3-day conference on global economic development scheduled for October 23rd to 25th, 2018. Now, of course, Khashoggi's murder was on October 2nd. Through meetings, networking, curated roundtables, and deep engagement with global media, a group of elite invitees, non-transferable invitations required a passport and a photo to register, proposed to outline a blueprint for the future of work in environmentally compromised yet technologically sophisticated, surveilled, smart cities operated under the purview of public-private partnerships. Well-connected firms such as Boston Consulting Group, Deloitte, McKinsey, Bain, Strategy, and Ernst & Young had received seats at MBS's table and are listed as summit partners on the FII website. Each of these firms is actively involved in social impact investing, and I have pulled up some of those. Some of the links are gone. I'll put the link to the article in the comments a little later on. I created a relationship map of partners associated with this event. Access the interactive version. Okay, here we go. These are the FII partners. Now, I know this is hard for people to see, but I'm just going to kind of take you around. Right here, of course, we've got the chairman. That's Mohammed bin Salman. And here we've got the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, the Council of Economic Development and Affairs, Saudi Arabia. Now, these are, sorry, I'm just going to move this up here. Here's stakeholders. We've got HSBC, MasterCard, Ma'aden, Sabic, Saudi Aramco, that's their huge and of course number one moneymaker in Saudi Arabia, an oil company. Saudi Telecom Company, Siemens, the Boston Consulting Group, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, McKinsey & Company, Strategy, Bain & Company, Sovereign Wealth Fund Institute, Roland Berger Consulting, Oliver Wyman, Credit Suisse, okay, so and HSBC. So here we are. Now, if you look over here, we've got a few more. Bridgespan Group, I think that's Price Waterhouse. No, I don't know. Now, these are strategic partners in the green. There's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Ford Foundation, Pritzker Family Foundation, Lumina Foundation for Education, and Dyer Network. And then it ventures off to schools, community schools, Aspire Public Schools, Parent Revolution, KIPP Foundation, Green Dot Public Schools, Educational Results Partnership. I'm not sure what that's all about. Partnership for Public Service, the Partnership to New York City, the Corporate Innovation Exchange Singularity University. So you can see this is quite a massive it's quite a massive amount of action, but it's all emanating from MBS and Saudi Arabia. Now I'm going to come down here a little bit and let's go through this. Below is a detail of Bridgespan's association. Bridgespan, a Boston-based nonprofit, emerged out of Bain & Company's pro bono work during the mid-1990s. Bridgespan and Bain maintain a deep strategic partnership, collaborating on projects across public service sectors, including education. Many of Bridgespan's clients are prominent players in the privatization movement. Consider the roles of consulting firms like Bain in offering guidance on social impact investment opportunities to the interests of the Crown Prince. And you can see that how Saudi Arabian capital could be easily directed to flow into U.S. education markets via charters and evidence-based ed tech solutions. In 2015, Bain enlisted former Massachusetts Governor Devil Patrick to head the firm's social investment fund. Patrick played an instrumental role in developing pay-for-success contracts in the Commonwealth, notably the ROCA initiative. Access to interactive version of the map here. Now let's go here. Whoops, went a little fast there. This is bridge span. And again, you can see Mohammed bin Salman, chairman. And this is how it works. Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, Council of Economics and Development Affairs, Saudi Arabia. Here's the Future Investment Initiative, which is, of course, that conference I'm telling you about. And then this is how it rolls. Everything plays into everything, and it's a very interesting model, but it's philanthropy through social impact ventures. Now, Saudi ties to the grisly murder of dissident journalist Jamal Khashoggi in Turkey earlier this month introduced an unanticipated wrinkles into the prince's planned agenda, leading a large and growing number of high-profile participants, including Jamie Dignan of JP Morgan Chase, Stephen Schwartzman of Blackstone, and Diane Green of Google to withdraw from the event. Attendance at the Davos in the Desert will be a fraction of last year, 3,800 plus officials, asset managers and lobbyists, and executives and government representatives scramble to find a way forward that enables them to retain access to the kingdom coffers and influence without drawing inordinate public ire. The official sponsor of the Future Investment Initiative is the Saudi Public Investment Fund. Established in 1971, governance of PIF was reconstituted and transferred to the Council of Economic and Developmental Affairs, chaired by MBS in March of 2015. That's about the time that Agenda 2030 was signed. Just so everybody knows, Harper signed in Canada, Obama in the United States. A substantial infusion of capital into the fund is anticipated in the near term from the public sale of up to 5% of Aramco, the Saudi national petroleum and natural gas company. Through implementation of Vision 2030, the Crown Prince aims to diversify the economy of the Saudi kingdom beyond the energy sector. And I believe it's much bigger than that. I believe he's going to be, or is looking to, rule the world. Key to this plan is transforming PIF into one of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world. The vision statement for the document Public Investment Fund Program 2018 to 20, which supports Vision 2030, states PIF is to be the global investment powerhouse and the world's most impactful investor, enabling the creation of new sectors and opportunities that will shape the future global economy, while driving the economic transformation of Saudi Arabia. So the question is, what new sectors of investment will they open and what type of impact do they seek? The Saudi government has retained numerous lobbying firms in the United States to advance their global investment goals for PIF through the situation with the Khashoggi murder, led many to cancel their agreement in recent weeks. Now this is interesting. The full conference program for FII is available online and describes plenaries on business, governments, and developing collective vision and the ethical implications of a digital economy and anticipated exponential growth in the fintech sector. Also on tap are discussions of the evolution of global capital markets, including challenges for sovereign wealth and pension funds, mega investments in frontier technologies like SoftBank's Vision Fund. We're going to cover that one coming up. Not today, though. As I keep saying, this is huge. And which economic model for privatization will prevail? Privatization is evidently presumed inevitable in such circles. It's a lot. But what it's telling me is that, again, the vision didn't emanate from us. This is a vision of, well, we're already seeing it here. It's medical fascism. And, well, let's go to my next piece. You know what? Because it's a little easier to start to talk about it when we look at what's going on in Neom. So I came across Dr. Maliha Hashmi. Now, she's a WeForum popular speaker and go-to, because she's right now, let me take you over to Neom here. This is, of course, their project. We're going to go down. Is a new vision of what the future could be. It's an attempt to do something that's never been done before, and it's coming at a time when the world needs fresh thinking and new solutions. Put simply, Neom will not only be a destination, but a home for many people who dream big and want to be part of building a new model for sustainable living. Crossroads of the world. Maybe I was wrong on Kazakhstan. Maybe Neom is to be the new global center of the world. Now, she came, of course, there she pops up because the doctor is the executive director of health and well-being of Neom. Now, let's go check her out here. TBY talks to Dr. Maliha Hashmi, Executive Director of Health and Wellbeing Biotech, Neom, and Deputy Chair of Neom COVID Leadership Task Force, about biotechnology, learning from COVID-19, and the future development of the firm. Now, what you're going to start to see here, guys, is you're actually going to start seeing, again, this is all about apparent sustainability. I was at the beginning of sustainability, and this is merging holistic with chemical, synthetic. And this is where it's worrisome, because we already know that the vaccine agenda, again, this is a gene therapy. It's not a V. And we're listening to some interesting language from these people. Now, I'm going to take you right to a little film here, and we'll discuss it after. And this is her talking.
Vision of mental health care being integrated into a holistic wellness mode. Absolutely. I would say yes, yes, and yes. So usually all the systems that currently exist in silos. So you will see public health in one bucket, in one silo. You'll see primary prevention in another silo. You'll see prevention in another, and mental health in another silo. So everything is treated differently, and there's a different approach to it. What we've done is we've removed these barriers, and what we're doing is we're trying to, with one stream of mental, emotional, physical well-being that's being catered to and looked at right from the beginning. And so let me give you an example. So the way our system is going to work is going to be a hub and spoke model. So we will have one general hospital, but that will be the last resort. We will have health centers prior to that close to your home as needed, but of course with virtual technology with the current times as well. But what will be the composition of these health centers? You're going to see nutritionists, you're going to see psychologists, you're going to see life coaches, and then you'll see doctors. So what the thing is, with the advent of the fourth industrial revolution, everything is changing. Jobs will change. And by 2030, there's going to be a shortage of 100,000 doctors and nurses. And even in the current situation, we have these heroes working at the front lines, trying to rescue patients. And they are not probably sometimes able to cater to the immediate needs of primary care. How do you cater to that? You remember that mental health is a very big part of primary care. So when you have access to a psychologist, to a life coach, and to a nutritionist, right from the beginning, you get all of them under one umbrella, and we're very excited about that. And also defining a new role for every profession, because you need doctors, and you will always need doctors, but doctors also need to have time to cater to urgent needs. And urgent needs can be later, but they can be before as well. But if you have this system in place where you have the psychologists, you have life coaches, then you might not need to get to that point where it becomes urgent. You might be able to settle it right from the beginning. So it's a complete holistic system where we're catering to mental, physical, emotional well-being all in one go. We're going to be a living laboratory that will provide the best opportunities, best data-driven healthcare, well-being, emotional, mental, physical, all in one go. And we will seek the best talent to lead that and to make it even better than before. And we will always be adaptive to change, which is so important in these current times. And this new change will continue to happen, which is NEOM. NEOM is the new future. So we never stop at one point. We keep going to the next one. We will never stop now. There might be a new normal tomorrow, but NEOM is adaptive to that. And the agility is what makes us unique.
That is so interesting. That truly is. And what you say also, I think it's really important that you are really starting from the beginning and learning from the mistakes, and you don't come with any baggage. So it's really been building. It's from humans to humans. It sounds like, although there's not a laboratory, but we do need that. That's absolutely exciting. I'd love to thank you.
So how do you like that? A living laboratory. That's what we are. And again, this is policy and the vision that they're actually going to be implementing in this new city. Now, I thought that it was important to, well, let's talk about what components she just spoke about in the healthcare. A shadow hospital that is only for last resort. So the idea here with this Agenda 2030, 99% vaccination, is intervention before anything happens, okay? So the vaccine is considered an intervention to better health. It's the regularity, but for me, what I see with the V is something that they're trying to achieve there, because in NEOM, they're actually proposing a genetic engineering project, which we talked about yesterday, in order to make humans stronger, smarter, faster. The weak aren't going to make it through these amendments. And this is what is going to start occurring. Now, the interesting thing that I thought from that little film was the loss of 100,000 doctors and nurses. How's that? It's almost admitting that, again, there's going to be that loss, or they don't intend to hire them. All of this wiring in, the V, the technology, and then, of course, the 5G to come, is all about, again, wiring us in so that when we wake up in the morning and we look in the mirror, we get our vitals and we know we're good to go. If something's off, it is going to literally stop us and we'll be in the matrix. You know, when they started that whole Bell talk about your mental health publicly and disclose it to everyone endeavor, this is what I saw with that. And now you're starting to see those programs that started corporately, socially, to help you, that are actually now sort of being fashioned into this vision here. Nutritionists, life coaches, psychologists. So that, again, if anything's off, intervention immediately. And that is the new sustainability. The amendments. Now it's interesting because, again, my mom and dad were on a program in Alberta called Pure North. And that was, I know that's absolutely hooked into this. Because I believe that was actually the evidence through testing, through the Mayo Clinic, because all the participants got their blood sent 4 times a year to the Mayo Clinic. And right from the get-go, I was going, wow, that's rather expensive testing. Why wouldn't they do that in Canada? But they were sending it there because there was something bigger at play. I believe that has something to do with solar geoengineering, which in fact, NEOM is already talking that its weather will be geoengineered. And of course, they're going to build a second moon too. Or transpose it. Live stream space. It's actually quite... It's over the top. And again, this is all sealed in with this technology. And the matrix, we simply won't be able to escape here in the West because we're number one right now. That's what's happening. The thing is about Saudi Arabia, like UN Agenda 2030 has 17 sustainable goals, but they don't have to meet those ones. We do here in Canada. I want to pull this up because this is interesting. Let's just go over here. We've got, okay, so it's 17 goals to leave no one behind. We're working with our partners to advance 2030 agenda at home and abroad through concrete actions on the 17 sustainable development goals. No poverty. Okay, this is the entire world, remember. But of course, in Canada, this is, again, part of our national program. Zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnerships for the goals. Now, I'm going to take a look over here in Saudi Arabia. They don't really require a whole lot. Here we go. Vision 2030. Let's just take a quick look here. These are the vision themes for them. A vibrant society, a thriving economy, an ambitious nation. So they've got a quality of life program, financial sector development program, housing program, fiscal balance. Their plans are suspiciously missing what we're being held hostage to over here, because it doesn't apply to them. See, they're considered a developing nation, like China. So they can, again, China creates more energy than Russia, United States, and India put together. But they can go off. They just have to be making commitments to the future. And that's more like 2040, 2050. Which is why I kind of keep thinking that if you want to escape this nightmare, finding yourself a developing nation might be the way to go. Except in China, they are pushing the V, of course. And again, all the technology that's wiring everybody in. They're the innovators of a lot of that technology. But we keep, again, forgetting about the Saudis because, again, they are part of the creation of all of this. This benefits them hugely, economically. It does. But as well, through this public investment fund, they have talents all over the world and in our economy. Now, this investment fund is now in the tar sands. They bought I think it was 25% stake in Suncor. That's Warren Buffett purchased that just a couple of years ago. They're actually quite invested all over Canada and United States. And again, through all of this and these relationships, stakeholders, and Bill Gates, to me, is a lot more like a broker of all of this. Not like he's not capitalizing huge and they're getting a huge piece of the pie. But again, he is not the focal point. That he's the scapegoat. And it's like the rest of the world is allowing him to take that role. because again, he's been public as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But the money is coming from these guys, which gives them a whole lot of clout economically in our countries. You wonder why on the airplanes or in, let's say, Indigo chapters, why the face covering is just fine, but for Muslim women, but not for us. All of those accommodations were made well in advance. Agenda 2030, Satan's plan to save the world. You know, again, I don't know that it's all Satan there, Anthony. I think it's more about, Islam. And I don't have anything against anyone else's beliefs. I never have. Again, I'm spiritual. Whatever you believe, you believe. But this is giving this part of the world a significant influence on us. And of course, we're all in hijab, as I've been saying. Where did these policies... Now, the thing is, at the beginning of all of this, even the measures, Saudi and UAE, they had mass sterilization programs. And I'm talking like spring... I think Dubai, they sprayed for 3 solid weeks disinfectants in the street. It was massive. They originally planned for 2, and then they went for 3. And then I was going through Dubai looking for, sterilization services because I was trying to check that out. And I was coming across all of these home businesses that were coming into your home and disinfecting the hell out of it. The culture. And I know this because of Airbnb. I had a lot of Muslims in my home, conservative, and it didn't go over so well. And I'll talk about this another time. But one thing, like I have an old house, it's 115 years old, and they like everything perfect and new and disinfected. Like they want the chemical. And of course, at that time, I was making my own cleaners with oxygenated bleach and essential oils, and I would put together my own concoctions that were non-toxic. It was part of my draw to my house, and that didn't go over well with that crowd at all. They didn't like it. I'm the type of person in the bathroom, I have a hyacinth sitting there, like a real flower that smells really pretty. I don't have the cans of like spray that doesn't go on. So they would ask for it. I'd be like, no, there's a flower. In any case, what's interesting is, again, the idea of sustainability, because their idea of sustainability is geoengineering, is messing with Mother Nature, is intervening with Mother Nature and editing our very DNA and our fingerprint, our uniqueness in this world. And this is the vision that is influencing and has pretty much, again, aligns with Bill Gates and what he's up to. And again, the eugenics of what we're seeing. Because I just learned that women are particularly sensitive to the Vs or the gene therapies because our immune response is more pronounced. If you have any weaknesses or inherent weaknesses, these, I believe, are there to take you out eventually, slowly, chipping away at your health. I am hearing all sorts of reactions and going through them on TikTok and Instagram and wherever I can get my hands on them, and personal accounts from people. And why would you subject yourself to, number one, being part of this experiment, but number two, to the sickness, the inherent sickness that seems to go along with it? You avoided it this whole entire time. And if you've had CV and then you take the jab, that's when the variants are created. The fact is, in this city, if you're familiar with Saudi, you've got to know it's totalitarianville and there's no escaping or saying no. And this, again, is part of the psychology that they're talking about in this, about ensuring that everyone is blissful. And if you are resistant to it, like in conservative Muslim culture, well, those women are just put in the loony bin. That's what they do. Or off them. Or like the neighbor of Saudi, which is the UAE. Where's their guy? Oh, he's interesting. He's the one who, I think it was about 10 years ago, where is he? I got him here. Oh, somehow missing it. I'll come back to him again. But in any case, he actually kidnapped one of his daughters from London because she escaped. And then got another one, the second one coming up. She tried to escape once, brought her back, drugged her for years, and then she escaped again. And she was on her way to Goa on a ship. And she'd actually traveled to Oman secretly and got on the ship, and then Saudi commandos came to take her away. And she was just recently, some footage emerged where she had it snuck out. 2 years later, she has been held by her father. Then his ex-wife, his wife left him and went to London with something like $56 million. She used to be the royal family in Jordan, Princess Haya. And now she is protecting her daughter from marrying Mohammed bin Salman, because these, again, are the joint ventures of these kingdoms. And in fact, the leader of the UAE had promised his 12-year-old daughter to Mohammed bin Salman. Crazy times. They're trying to make us look at each other like we're German-fested. This is definitely a psyop as far as all of these orders. For sure. But the whole idea here is, yes, that we are diseased unless proven innocent by a V. That's what they want. It's like the mask. Same psychology. And this is biotechnology. The thing is, again, we always look at, it's weird how sometimes, you're just born and you think a certain way. And I never saw the other side of the world involved in the biotechnology for some reason for a long, long time. But they're 100% behind it. And again, they're about creating this stronger race, these stronger humans. And guys, well, that's called eugenics. That's how they do it. And right now with the V, of course, they're going into vulnerable populations. They are telling pregnant women to get it, pushing it to the immunocompromised. And they should be the last to ever take it. Again, if somebody tells you to jump off a bridge, are you going to do it? And again, here, gets potentially sick for weeks and disabled, disfigured. I listened to an interview today of a doctor talking about the number. He had 3 patients just in 3 months that have suffered permanent disability. This is in Canada, in BC. Permanent. Bell's palsy. Have you ever seen that? I had a friend who got it after a V. And like the side of her face froze. It was like Botox all over. No. Here's the thing. I know women that go and get all that stuff, and no. For years I'm trying to figure out a better way. I'm currently rolling my skin every night like a rolling pin on my face, trying to, again, offset the wrinkles and do all that without the Botox. I don't want any of that. I don't want these amendments because I have suffered a lot of my life because of them. The mask is another way to divide us, and it's not just using race and gender, they're causing division with the masks. We're the majority and they don't want the people to unite because they know we will conquer them and their evil agendas. Well, the fact is, though, again, no one's getting over the mask. I had a lot of businesses accepting not a mask just because for their workers. And that's just coming down. Not in small business, but any corporate is, and it was other employees going to their boss going, well, she can do it. Why can't I? And it was like, well, then get one. But these people actually wanted to see them under the muzzle, so they couldn't breathe. This is the lack of empathy I'm seeing in the corporations. And again, the jealous coworker thing. I can tell you, I have worked out of my home, and even when I had a warehouse, I didn't work there. I left them and I would come home and work because the negativity and jealousy and just stupid. You're really seeing that fester now again with the mask. And we saw all of a sudden these people come out that, where did they come from? The lack of empathy. And that, my friends, is 20 years of GMO foods. Dulling. Destroying our gut bacteria. Doing promotions and being in natural products for years with my own company, what I absolutely learned was the fact that most people were never told by their doctor that they had to take probiotics or acidophilus or anything after antibiotics. Never happened. And I was at the beginning of the probiotic movement in the health food stores. I had actually the first product called Flax Probiotic. And we put probiotics in a flax powder, kind of like a protein powder. And that was one of my first, actually, Mariel Hemingway used to order that one from me directly. I used to ship it to her wherever she was. It was really cool. It wasn't that popular because back then nobody really understood about probiotics, but that was the beginning of that education. And I was the first one, actually, I think I have to say pretty much in the world that was marketing prebiotics and the probiotic in one. It was brand new territory. And I honestly didn't have the money to dump into marketing. That was me out there talking it up. The fact is, everyone needs to enhance their good bacteria. And again, after a course of antibiotics, you need a year on these things to really get it back. And that was a huge thing for me because as a kid, I was in the hospital and on antibiotics a lot. I think I had pneumonia 4 times as a kid. And that was long hospital stays. And those antibiotics wiped me out. So when I got older and, started drinking alcohol and all of that, what I was doing was just feeding that candida. And again, it's taken me a long time to get my health back and understand all this. And that was the value of all those years working with these health food stores and retailers and being on the road in contact with all of these people who taught me everything I know straight up. They did. I had no background before I started my hemp food company, except for the fact I was Italian and I knew good food. I was in the restaurant industry when they actually used to cook food in the restaurants, real food, not get boxes delivered. So again, I came from a different background, but this is it. Our gut bacteria is dead, and that is a problem. So when those GMO foods started to filter into our diets, the chemical additives, all of that, it was just a recipe for disaster. And obesity, number one, because of course that's candida. It's a problem. They're not going anywhere. I'm in the US, but they're here to stay, I believe. Not telling people to eat healthier and take vitamins and herbs. It's all about the V. That's the thing. Now, interestingly enough, though, if you scroll into my Facebook from last night, I have an article there that came from Neom, from this group in Saudi. And it's my cocktail I came up with years ago. In 2017, I was always taking immune boosters. And the geoengineering, that's why I started studying geoengineering, was because my lungs were taking it. And there was about 6 months that I had a chest like cough that I could not shake. And that's when I got into taking the high vitamin C and the NAC. And the NAC, of course, is the precursor to glutathione, but it's also what they use in hospitals for acetaminophen overdose. It's a detoxer, and it's amazing for the lungs and the liver, which are, of course, attached. So the NAC is a wicked one. And then there was the vitamin D and zinc. There you go. And that was their cocktail for excellent health. And I believe it's because they're invested in geoengineering. They've done this work for sure. So amendments and supplements will be part of it. So for me, I take supplements. I'm all good with that. I am. But again, recently, they've been talking about nanotechnology in the supplements. This is happening. In these smart cities of the future, I've even read that when you go to the bathroom, number 2, the toilet will be analyzing that, and that will be wired into your data. They're selling all of this as empowering your health. But in fact, and it will, again, interventions all the time, everywhere you look, you'll be contained. And well, you'll be dulled down because these amendments will do just that. Again, the gene therapy, and Dr. Carrie Madej, she talks about this, is the fact that it hits chromosome 8 and your empathy. And then again, all of a sudden when the mask came out, there was that like bats out of hell, people coming at us and going, for me, it was a shock because where's your empathy? It's like, it was like I missed years of this attitude because I'd never seen it, and it was scary to me. Uncompromising. And we're seeing it because, again, there is no empathy. They're not even bringing up the fact that a lot of the population doesn't want this amendment because they're structuring it as a non-negotiable. Like, why wouldn't you want it? What's wrong with you? And that's how it's going to go. And that's the psychology. That's the gaslighting. And that's the gaslighting of conservative Islam. I can tell you that because I've engaged. And when you are dealing with that, nothing you can say, particularly if you're a woman, because you need double the woman to counter it. That's where I first came in touch with that gaslighting, was doing Airbnb. And when I see it, again, this is something I picked out last year, but I didn't understand, again, enough about how this was all working. I thought originally that Agenda 2030, everybody was on the same, but what I have come, since learned is, in fact, no. It's going to be super hard on us over here because they're literally going to take us and break us their way. Geofenced for life. Yes, Bill. All the orders are dehumanizing. They certainly are. It's like being talked down to. It is. For me, again, I live alone, and all of a sudden now I was allowed one authorized visitor. Like, this is it. And now I'm not allowed anybody in my city. This is literally about keeping us apart from each other. And we are one big laboratory, as they explained in there. This is a living laboratory, and we're in it. Again, the hospitals are empty, and that central hub. Now, this is interesting. You know what? I think we should go through this, actually. One more thing before we take off today. I had so many other things, but it's good to kind of dive in and see what we've got going on. Oh, this was interesting because that Jamal Khashoggi, I just want to tap into this quickly. He was killed at the Turkish embassy, the Saudi Arabian embassy in Turkey. he went in and never came out. They dismembered him, and now it has been absolutely determined that it was Mohammed bin Salman responsible for this. October 2nd, 2018 is when Khashoggi was murdered. And on April 10th, 2019, a partnership announcement of the Republic of Turkey and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was announced. I just found that today, and I thought that was very poignant. Now, yes. Now, what she was talking about in that film was the hub and spoke business model. Because the hospital is going to be sort of that shadow hospital. Everything, the other services, nutritionists, psychologists, again, completely wired into every bodily function. And, well, I've read Ida Oken's piece about it's 2030. I have no privacy. It's a centralized business, hub and spoke. So I'm going to read a little bit about it. What the hub and spoke business model accomplishes is centralization. Instead of having multiple leaders all trying to do the same thing, the hub model creates a hierarchy of control where centralized commands can be used. From there, the orders filter down through the spokes, so that the maximum level of efficiency can be maintained. And just so we all know, that's like fascism or communism or Sharia law. Yeah. Because everything is centralized, the policies and procedures of an organization can be implemented with greater accuracy and force. I've just added that. It also creates a more consistent product because there isn't natural individual variations that occur when multiple people are responsible for the same or similar responsibilities. The structure is very similar to a traditional chain of command. In the military, orders are issued from a commanding officer in charge. The orders filter down to the other officers and then implement the orders based on the personnel that they have. Interesting, huh? Again, centralization, communism, fascism, and, well, a structure that you cannot push against. There's none of that going on. It cannot be questioned when it's centralized. They have an IA2030 as well, immunization agenda. I have their handbook. Yes, I have that too. Yes, it's huge. I actually sent that out to a bunch of people who wanted it. I've got it in a PDF. I should put that PDF on Telegram. I'll do that. How's house arrest? Well, I'm not under house arrest. I still go out and stuff, but there's nothing really open. Honestly, I never really engaged much anyway, so I don't really miss a whole lot. I don't. I stayed out of the fray for a long time. Didn't really fit in. I'd rather be researching. How's Serbia? You're in where are you? Belgrade, right? I keep watching your footage there, Anthony. I think it's wonderful. How do you like it? It must be really unique. I mean, for that Kim woman who says she lives in Ontario. Oh, for sure. Yes. Yeah. I didn't see that. How did I miss all that? Yeah, it's really sad. Again, I've got a number of friends that are on, getting hassled by public health and, again, having to interact with them for a flu, and it's ridiculous, but here we are. My plan is to stay out of the way, and that's what I intend to keep doing. Oh, one more thing before I go, because, again, I was kind of talking about Ubers a while ago, and I thought it was interesting because Where is that one? Here's Martine with 40,000 windows open. Where is it? Ah, this was a great article. I'm just waiting for it to come up here. A few years ago, there was a few articles around, and it was, this one's called When Your Uber Driver is a Spy. Another attack vector brought to you by the gig economy. This is August 3rd, 2018. Let's just take a look here. Like other migrating beasts, hackers travel huge distances for feeding, breeding, and breaking things every summer. At DEF CON in Las Vegas, the way they move about the city is driven particularly by the availability of free booze and corporate parties, or the convenience of air-conditioned infosec habitats and heat that makes them torpid. As such, everyone takes taxis, Ubers, and Lyfts everywhere, day and night. The mostly male migration forgoes the bradagio of colorful plumage seen in avian species. Instead, they establish social dominance and attract attention of potential mates and recruiters by bragging. Thus, according to my taxi-related experiences, while covering the conference over the years, Las Vegas car drivers overhear way more infosex boasting and swagger than they probably should. Ferrying hackers and feds during hacker summer camp has got to be a dream gig for a spy. How could it not be? Spying on hackers is usually more trouble than it's worth. Thanks to Uber and Lyft's gig economy, it's much easier. No union, no problem. Case in point is a GQ story, The Spy Who Drove Me. 2 weeks ago at the Aspen Security Forum, a high horse Homeland Security conference, journalists from GQ and Washington Post, among others, kept ending up with conspicuously curious Uber driver. Gloria, the Uber driver, picked up journalists on the conferences first night. The next morning, correspondents compared notes about how she'd pumped them for information on a ride to the conference. I'll tell you something if you tell me something, she said to one reporter. Through Gloria's chatty admissions, reporters began piecing together that she'd been to North Korea and knew who Director of Intelligence Dan Coates was, surprisingly well. That's when GQ decided to turn the tables on her. GQ's reporter, Julia texted Gloria for a ride with the express stated purpose of interviewing the Uber driver for a story. According to Iof, the exchange got weird really fast. Since I saw your face yesterday, I've been wondering, Gloria said, are you from a Russian background? How the hell did Gloria know I was from Russia? I certainly hadn't mentioned it. And my last name wasn't on my Uber profile. And since I'm Jewish, I don't even look particularly Russian. That is classically Slavic. What else did Gloria know, and how did she know it? How did you know? I asked her. Gloria resorted to flattery. Because your face is so beautiful, she cooed. That dark hair and light eyes and white skin. Upset, the reporter asked Gloria, how did you know I was from Russia? The driver continued trying to derail Iof with compliments. Ms. Iof repeated the question the third time. So what is going on with Putin now? Gloria asked, what is happening? On the last night, Ms. Iof and her colleague booked an Uber, and surprise, surprise, they got Gloria. The driver asked them what people at the conference were saying about North Korea. The other journalist replied, well, it seems people don't really know that much about what's going on there. But you've been to North Korea, right? When Gloria didn't respond, he repeated the question twice, each time receiving silence. Gloria, Shane pressed on. Were you in North Korea? A couple of years ago, she mumbled after a long silence. What were you doing there? Silence. I'd like to go back, she finally said. In any case, guys, I'm going to put this in the comments for you because my phone's probably going to die here any second. But I thought it was interesting because this isn't new. And again, the Saudis have a whole lot of money wrapped up in Uber. And I believe that they are actually serving as a bit of an intelligence network. And I've seen that in my own city. And I actually, after I posted that today on Facebook, I actually had a guy go back and forth with me, and he's seen it in 2 Alberta, smaller cities, experienced it. And we compared notes, so it was really quite interesting. Anthony, the Orthodox Church and religiosity of the people are a braking mechanism on the evil. Also, it wasn't very long ago the UN was bombing this place, so that helps for resistance. Oh, that's right, Anthony, for sure. That's interesting. There are spies and spooks everywhere. I thought we'd be horrified if we really knew how many people around us were actually spies. I sure learned. I learned when I started getting into, well, the freedom movement, because, again, before, I was talking about Agenda 2030, and I sort of just morphed into being engaged with that. And that was just because I was, of course, questioning what was going on, like you. I'm glad you're enjoying it over there, Anthony. Gary, nice to see you. And Joe, nice to see you. You kind of came in at the tail end here, but it's an interesting one, action-packed, a lot to go over. And I didn't get to BlackRock today because I decided to focus on the Saudis. Again, so much information, but I want to get people reading in that direction. And as we venture forth this week, I will be, again, every day dropping down a bombshell of information that you probably haven't heard before. Because again, Bill Gates, when it comes down to it, I think it's Mohammed bin Salman that is looking to be the king of the world. I had a horrible experience when I was involved with student politics, finding out someone heavily involved with my group was a mole saboteur of some sort. I actually came to the conclusion that a guy I'd met about 10 years ago, about 12 years ago when I had my magazine, was actually CCP. I didn't know it. I had my car sabotaged in Toronto. That was back in 2008. My Mini got smashed. And it was absolutely suspicious, and I never was able to receive the information from the police that I required. And then it all went away. It's the weirdest situation, but this is it. There's more. Again, the freedom movement here. That's what I saw. And then, of course, they're calling me the mole, and I'm like, okay, well, guys, the mole gets in there and stays and pushes everybody out. So no. It's hilarious. The reverse psychology and I learned a lot. I never realized how absolutely contaminated our landscape was. I never realized we had so many fascists and communists around. It's shocking. Bill Rhodes, I warned everyone about BlackRock as soon as I heard about them. Interesting, Bill. Well, we're definitely going to get into them. Again, I'm going to try to close after today's video about 25 windows, and then I can get to BlackRock because they're all there. It's hilarious. In the UK, there was a scandal because the spook guys were having kids with the women. These Anglo intelligence agencies have no boundaries or decency. Interesting. Oh, my friends, it is getting interesting. But to me, it's the energy of the biotechnology behind all this. Again, is coming from conservative Islam is what I see. And I want to know how this has been allowed, that they are literally dictating our future in the West. And it's all based on IPOs and funds, and it's more than speculatory, Again, some of these investments I'm going to be going through next week again, and we have a few on the Canadian landscape. They're involved in all this, including Doug Ford's new tracking devices. And that is something we'll cover early next week. In any case, phone's going to die, guys. But I thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. And think happy thoughts, keep positive, and remember, we are the ones who make decisions for ourselves and our bodies. And don't let anyone go around your good sense or convince you something that you don't believe. Don't do it to satisfy someone else. We've got to think for ourselves here. This is the lesson of all of it. Have a great weekend.